good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, and our podcasting stations. And this is the second episode of Shaketa Speaks. And this week episode is going to be about expectations. What's up, Keita?
Hey, hi, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. So, a few days ago, there was a clip going around, and in the clip, the husband and wife, their last name is Ellis, and they were having a discussion from their podcast. And I don't know if you posted in the group or I posted in the group, just for some dialogue. There was a clip we're going to play in a second, and there was a clip where he spoke about his expectations of marriage, and that his expectation was that he wanted to have sex all of the time, and if he was not able to if your and he said, if your mate is not able to pretty much live up to their vow of marriage, which included having sex whenever the other partner wanted to, why would you pressure or force them or bribe them or whatever you want to call it into being in a monogamous relationship? And his wife kind of was a little confused because she was like, I pressured you to marry me. And he was like, yeah. And he really, he just kind of came out of his face and said, you pressured me to marry you. And if you were not going to, be available for me to have sex with regularly, why would you pressure me into this monogamous relationship? And I'm
I have
finding
the
that. Hmm?
I have the clip. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna put the clip up.
A lot of
Okay.
women do complain, oh, my husband's always on me. Why is he always on me?
Mm-hmm.
If sex is going to be a chore for you that you don't really want to do, why do women constantly push monogamy on men? If you know that you don't want to have to deal with him all the time just wanting you, why do you push monogamy on men?
Well, who's to say I pushed anything on anybody? Like,
Well, we
it's
know
two
that you pushed
people.
monogamy on me.
I pushed monogamy. I forced you to get married to me?
Time out. You said to me you never pressured me to.
So I've been hearing, I get a lot of this from my male friends as well. I have really great relationships with, a few men, and we're really, really good friends, and we talk about all kinds of things, and even argue from time to time about, different things. And this is one of those things that I feel like we seem to argue about a lot. I have friends who are devout Christians, men that are clergy in the church. Then I have a couple of male friends that are Muslim, and they are like, this is an issue for them. And of course, my male friends that are in the church that have high positions in church, they're pastors. They think this is BS. Like, how could you say somebody pressured you into monogamy? This is marriage, and marriage is sacred, and marriage is important, and marriage is all of these wonderful things that equal the rest of my life, which is children, partnership, love, everything. So I decided to go and watch the entire hour-long interview, which I know nobody else went to go do. Because they're just completely taking his words out of context. But in that particular clip, though, he said what he meant. He felt like he was pressured, and I think everybody's expectations are different, and everybody has standards. And I often find that a lot of women will waver their standards to have a man, to be in a relationship, to be married to somebody. And then you have men who will do the same because they want to be with you, and they're not thinking long term. And in the midst of his going back and forth with his wife, which was very interesting because they were able to be very, very transparent with one another. And I find that when I'm having conversations with men, especially on this platform, they're not transparent at all. They all, nobody's saying like, I've been through that. And let me take that back, because then I'm gonna have to owe a couple of men an apology. There's been a couple of guys on the show who are very transparent. Cameron being one of them. He's very, very transparent and he's super honest. But for the most part, I just feel like a lot of men just are not. And if you were to listen to the whole hour-long clip, he does get into how he was never taught what being a husband is. She wasn't either. That um, there could be so many different reasons why somebody does not want to have sex with you all the time. And then he said, I've had men before me, even my age, who were married or in these committed relationships, and they would just kind of like, kind of say, you sure you want to get married? You sure you want to do that? But nobody was being transparent, he said, or talking or being honest and saying, when they say, oh, you're not going to have sex, but they're not telling you why you're not. They all make it seem like it's the worst thing in the world. And this woman is just going to make you feel so less than, and it's going to deprive you from this physical interaction that you're going to crave and want all the time. And she's just simply not going to want it just because she's not going to want it just because she's a woman. And when I posted that in the group, and I said, a lot of times when a woman doesn't want to have sex with you regularly all the time that way, it's because it's you. And a lot of they was like, oh, and one guy in particular was like, oh, how do you know? You can't speak for all women. I'm not. I'm not speaking. I'm speaking. I open my mouth. I type with my fingers. I'm talking about myself, and I'm telling you that most of the time it is because of you. Like this. And he in that clip, he didn't get into how he wants his wife to dress up all of the time. Like, he literally wants her to put on like a costume and be dressed up to have sex. I can't imagine that. But that's what he wants. That's what he needs. Even if she's not used to it. Like, so every time we have to have sex, I have to dress up and have on this wig and the full face of makeup and do, like, maybe she just doesn't want to do that all the time. So, there's so many layers to all of that. But the expectation that I'm going to marry somebody or be in a committed relationship with somebody and they're always going to be physically available for me all the time, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I feel like more men need to be a little bit more transparent about why and how those things, happen. And I'm not going to say that all men care and actually even know, because I don't think that a lot of them know. And I think that's why when a woman says if she doesn't want to have sex with you all the time, it's probably you, that the first thing you want to do is get offended and act like, well, what do you mean it's us? Who said that? If you've never been through that before and have never been honest enough or had the type of relationship with your mate to be honest and ask her what it is, then you'll never know. You'll never know.
Well, it's funny because when I saw the clip, the first clip, um, it's kind of crazy because sometimes the person will talk about a clip and sometimes the person will be like, "Oh, you taking it out of context." So the first clip did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It made them seem like they had a real bad relationship. And then seeing the other clip that I saw today, you see how they were really, even though they had a real good conversation, and I really believe it was great that a younger couple could, they were very transparent and expressed their insecurities
Mm-hmm.
with each other. And it's amazing that a lot of times, like you said, a individual may not be able to express their insecurities with their significant other. And it's really sad that a person can get to that point where you know you got a you got a big stomach. We can't have sex the way we used to, so I just don't want to have sex with you. But I'm scared to tell you
Mm.
that you need to lose a little weight because we can't position ourselves. I mean, we just having an adult conversation. I don't want to be
Right.
too
Or love the
graphic, but
right. Or love the person you're with enough to say, look, the way you like to do it don't work for us no more.
yeah,
We got to come up with a different position. We might have to get a different type of chair. We might have to get half on the floor and half on, like, but to say it. And it's not on how you say it. It's just about being honest, quite frankly. Like, my stomach is in the way. So we got to figure out how we gonna do this because I be too tired and I don't. And it takes all the breath out of me. Maybe we can maybe we can buy that special chair that'll fix it and we can do. It's just a matter of being able to have a discussion.
Yeah, I noticed that not within myself, but when you have certain conversations with people, and we had discussed behind the scenes how maybe younger we didn't understand the value of having the opposite sex friendship, but when you get older
Hmm.
you understand and you value those friendships where you can have those type of conversations. Even me and yourself, we have conversations that people be like, "What are y'all talking about?" But it's basically to get to know each other and to get to know the opposite sex and what they think.
Right.
The reason why I say that is because a lot of times, like I said, the insecurities, damn, you was buff, 110 pounds when we met. Now not 110 pounds, 185 pounds when we met. Now you a big guy, and all you do is go to work. You don't take care of yourself the way you used to. You don't go to the gym. You don't work out, and a female may feel like, what, if I tell him that I'm not feeling him like that physically like I used to, he might blow up. He don't know how to handle criticism, definitely criticism from his significant other. So I might as well just not say nothing. And this may go on months, practically almost years, and they could basically fall out of love from each other.
Right. I mean, and to be a little transparent, like I remember I was dating this guy, and and we were, I guess, more or less like we were in a relationship. I try not to count things that disappear because I hate being stuck in the past. So I usually just be like this guy. So anyway, if one is over, it's over, child. So, but I just feel like I need to make a point. So, meeting him, he always discussed, what his standards were, and he was like, if I get married, I want a woman who doesn't tell me no. Like, I don't want a woman to tell me no. And I'm the kind of person, whether you're my friend or we're seeing each other, I want to know what does that entail. What do you mean, tell you no? He said, no. And I was like, so you want somebody to have sex with you all the time, whether she wants to or not. And he was like, no. Like, I don't want to have sex with somebody who doesn't want to have sex with me. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. I was like, so then what are you talking about? I don't think people understand what that means to always have to have sex on demand for somebody else, especially when you as a mate don't study what turns that other person on, when you don't know your mate well enough to say they're not in the mood right now or they don't want to right now. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? And I feel like there's such a burden on women to always be readily available to have sex with this man whenever he wants, whether you're turned on or not. It's like, well, he's turned on and he's attracted to you and now he's fondling you. That should feel good enough for you to want to have sex. No, it does not. Because what turns you on doesn't turn me on. Just being groped doesn't turn somebody on sometimes. Or just because you think I look good when I walk in the door from work and I still have my work clothes and my high heels and I'm still all made up from work, that doesn't mean that I want to have sex when I get in the door. Like, that's not what that means for me. So what are you going to do to get me to a place where I want to have sex with you? Because clearly having sex with you means the wind blows and you want to have sex. So
And
I
then
feel like, and your expectations of what sex is for you isn't for everybody. And when do people, are transparent enough and honest enough to say that? I don't understand that.
you think that the communication, like I told you, like when I saw the second part, it really meant what you said was actually an extension of the major part, which was an hour. I think their like I said earlier, I think their communication was awesome and their
Yeah,
transparency was awesome.
yeah,
And I think that for a younger couple, I think that some of us older people need to take note of trying to be as transparent as they are, because a lot of times, like you said, it may not have nothing to do with the guy. It can have something to how she feel about herself. She could
absolutely.
feel a certain way about herself, and it's like, and may feel comfortable telling her girlfriends like, uh, I don't want to work and dealt with them people at work all day. for lack of better words, and for those that don't know, I don't talk like what I'm about to say. This is not. She may not feel like letting nobody pound on her. Like,
But it's
nobody
true.
gonna be doing that. Like, yo,
Like
ain't nobody.
like and I think I think that's the difference. And I often say I curse. I'm a cursor. But I always say I don't want nobody effing on me. Like, there's a difference between somebody in my space and we mutually are agreeing and we're mutually turned on and we're mutually making that conscious decision to have sex. And that doesn't have to be verbal. It could just be physical cues and things that we're doing that we're both deciding to do at that moment. I don't want somebody humping on me, pounding on me, effing on me. I don't want that. I want it to be mutual. I don't want to have to feel obligated to have sex with you. And I think when people were like, yeah, yeah, you heard what he said, you heard what he said, you also need to understand that they were been married for 18 years. And
Yeah.
when she told him, I'm not moving in with anybody until I'm engaged, she was young. She was in her early 20s. And she had every right to have that standard. And she had every right to set that expectation. And if he felt as though he couldn't live up to it, he should have made a different decision. Nobody pressures anybody into marrying them. Nobody. And if you allow somebody to pressure you into marrying you, then you're a fool. And that's something that you'll have to deal with in your own personal time.
Since you brought up your favorite word, that I think that word is like on the tip of your tongue every day. Standards.
Word is
Um,
born.
do you do you think that sometimes we get caught up with the minutia of I'm attracted to this person, because we all know first attraction is physical. I'm
Mhm.
attracted to this person so much that you lower your standards and don't even realize it.
I think that happens when you're young. And I think that could have happened to him. But I also believe that when he was that young and she told him that this was her standard and this was her expectation, I think he did. Like he said,
You trapped
even
me.
though I think it, but like he said, he said I was too immature to think about my life in the long run. And then he also said, because he wanted in the long run to have a wife and have a family, he understood how important it was for him to say, if this is the person that I want to marry, then I need to step to her level. But what you don't understand as well is that there's a compromise in between. If a person, male or female, and that was an issue too. Not like there's just men who have high sex drives. There are women who have high sex drives as well, and the men can't keep up. So when you're with somebody that you care about and you want to build a life with them, whether it's in business along with kids, and you want to have this whole legacy that you leave behind, you also have to be transparent enough to have a conversation about how are you feeling and is it me? Because he thought it was him at one point. He was like, I'm in the gym, I have great hygiene. Like, what's the problem? Why doesn't she want me? And he thought it was him, and she said, she felt so bad that he thought it was him, but she said, it's not you. And she was like, going to things like, we had all of these children. My body was changing. I was uncomfortable. And he said, and I thought this was so important. He was like, even though you didn't like certain things about you, when a man picks you and they love you, they love all aspects of you. And I think we women get caught up in, well, he doesn't want to have sex with me because my body has changed, or he doesn't want to have sex with me because I don't look the same anymore. There are plenty of men that don't want to have sex anymore, and they do the same exact thing. Like one minute we're fine, and then we had this baby, and now he doesn't want to have sex with me anymore,
It's like
and
that.
I
It's
can't
like
figure
that.
out why.
It's like that meme when she gets stretch marks. Come here, you little tiger.
Right. Some men, but like he said, he loved all of that. And then there's some men who don't like it at all. So that's why I feel like, when expectations come into play, I think it's a huge, I think it's, your expectations for what you want. You can't always, you're dealing with a completely different human being. People are like, oh, when you get married, you become one. No, you don't. You don't become one. You still have two different hearts. You still have two different minds, two completely different entities, bodies, spirits, everything. You're not one damn person.
And
You're
you
two
might grow.
different
And you
beings.
might grow apart.
Absolutely. And even if you grow apart, I don't even think that people grow apart. I think they grow in different directions. Come visit me sometime from where you are. We don't have to. We can be in different directions. Come visit me sometime. Come see, step into my space and see what I'm doing and how I'm doing. Instead of thinking that everything I do has to be in the same exact footsteps in the same footprint as you. You know, when I walk here and I'm starting to do this with my life, you can't sit back and feel like you're being left because you have to understand that I'm a completely different person.
It's
You know,
it's
and
like it's like me and Keisha was talking earlier. In some instances, it's like we reward irresponsible behavior.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And then when you have standards, you know, people make you feel so bad about them. It's almost like I have to always constantly remind people I'm not giving anybody any advice, right? So there are going to be people that can relate, and there are going to be people who cannot relate. You know, I never look at other when people say, "Oh, yes, that's right, girl," whether it's a man or a woman. I never, I never say that they're agreeing with me. I think they're just relating to what I'm saying because I'm not. What I'm talking about isn't factual.
I'm gonna ask you a question that speaks into the standard thing, and try to you use social media as an example, which is not always the greatest example because do you feel like when a person sets standards and they'll say mature conversations going on through social media and somebody says their standards, do you think that an individual like their whole agenda is to try to break the person's standards?
I think so. I
Like
really think so.
instead of saying I see
Oh,
what you're saying. Let me step up my game. I'm interested in you. Let me step up my game.
mhm.
Instead, we'll try to break you down within that conversation, like literally, figuratively break you in social media. Do you think that happens a lot?
Quite often, quite often. And you know, I always say this: there's all different types of people, right? But when I am, and when I'm meeting somebody, and if I'm meeting somebody in a romantic way, um, I just kind of let things naturally happen. Unless he's asking me something very, very particular, I just kind of try to let things happen in a natural way. But every once in a while, I'll meet a man and he'll be interested in me romantically, but we'll meet as friends. And we'll be having these conversations, and I could be saying like all of these things that I'm saying, you know, like my standards, my expectations, all of these things. And it sounds so difficult. It sounds so hard. It sounds so terrible. It sounds so intimidating. It sounds so many things. And I always say to myself, this is somebody that I couldn't date. Because if you can't listen, if you can't talk to me as a friend and let me just talk, you know, and not take it personal and feel so inadequate, then I would never want to date you. And then I come across men that I can have that very same conversation with and they can relate. They'd be like, yes, there's because I have standards too. I have expectations as well, you know, but I always say no matter what my expectations and or my standards are, the person that I like enough, I'll be able to bend and move. You know what I mean? Like there'll be things that'll happen that I'll be like, you know what, it's okay because I like them. But then there'll be things that I don't care how much I like you, I will stop talking to you over because I can't let that go. And it being in a social media environment, and I mean just having Facebook and Instagram, I post things all the time that I think are absolutely hilarious. And people who know me, men or women, crack up laughing and go about their business. And then there are other people, especially I feel like men who will take notes and write things down and think that they know you and think that they, you know, they're judgy and they feel so bad. And I always say, you know, and I don't always say, but in a friend environment, I'm talking to my friends, but let me say this here right now, the whomever's listening and read status or posting something I post and they're a little uncomfortable. My standards are my standards, right? And what I'll tolerate and what I won't tolerate is my business. I don't speak for every woman, I speak for myself. And if there's something that I'm saying that makes you feel so uncomfortable because you know you're not that man, or you know that I would never date you. Like if I'm saying something and it makes you feel like, damn, I don't have that, that's your personal problem. I'm not going to alter that and change that because it makes somebody else feel comfortable. You can't do that. I'm not a mind reader. I don't think that other people are mind readers. I just feel like people need to stick to how they feel
Do
and
you
who they
think
are.
do you think that's odd that when you do, if you do, like we said, social media has a way of having a mind of its own, but when you do post something that's very transparent about yourself, is it amazing to you that a person could even have feelings about what you post about yourself?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crazy, and it's literally like the same post from the Ellis family. That one soundbite of this man saying, "Then why would you pressure?" Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, she pressured him into marriage." They've been and happy, but have issues. Everybody has issues, right? But they've been married for 18 years. How do you get all of that from that? You didn't even watch the whole thing. Like you didn't even care to listen or watch the whole thing and get some clarity about the situation. You just wanted something to fuel your narrative of what you think that these people are like, because that's who you are and that's the way you are, right? And that's how you're like. And I think it's the same with people. So when you post something, to be transparent, whether you mean it or not, sometimes I might agree with something, but that doesn't mean that that's me, right? So instead of you saying that to yourself, it's just a post, whomever it is. It's never just a post to some people. Some people it's like they make taking little notes and they think they know something about somebody. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think
Yes,
they don't have any intentions on getting to know a person. They or anything. It's just it feeds their narrative. Oh, I knew he was like that, or I knew she was like that. You
it's
know?
kind of crazy that a person, nobody wants to be on social media and be so self righteous, but it's kind of crazy that sometimes we will give somebody ourselves and don't expect nothing in return from
Mm-hmm.
them, or
Mm-hmm.
or don't even know them enough to give them yourself. Like you slept with this man, or I slept with this female, and it's like you have no, people will say, "Well, I had no expectation; it was just sex."
Mm.
To each his own. I don't even want to go
But
down
they,
that
but
rabbit hole because people may think I'm being funny, but it's like, okay,
but when I
isn't
hear
your
people,
sex worth it enough to expect something?
say that, especially like, and I'm saying this from because I feel like and I'm only saying this from this way because I feel like more women get hurt by men who have no expectations, and I feel like a lot of times women nowadays don't have any either because it's like, well, it's kind of like it fits into that whole it's like dumbing yourself down, you know what I mean, so that you don't get hurt anymore, so they keep running it. Well, I didn't have any expectations. Well, I do, and I do and this is why I speak like I speak and I say it out loud, because I be like, if somebody else can hear me say that and see that I'm comfortable in my space, I'm comfortable, living my life, and I'm not, nobody knows if I'm married, nobody knows any of my business. But what I'm saying is I'm comfortable living my life. So I don't care how my expectations or my standards sound to anybody else. It's none of my business. They're mine. And I have expectations from anybody that I allow in my space.
I mean, you could at least expect a walk in the park, right?
But I mean, but even if you expected something and that person hurt your feelings, that doesn't mean that now the next person, well, don't expect anything. You absolutely should. And I'm not even talking about expecting the bare minimum. How do you expect somebody to be nice? Be like, well, he was so nice. He's supposed to be nice. Oh, she was so nice. You're supposed to be nice. Like that's the bare minimum. That's the only thing you expected them was to be nice. Or they was like, well, at least they were honest. I respect the fact that they were honest. You're supposed to be. I don't respect nobody for being honest. Like, so what?
Mm.
So what? So what you were honest. And who even knows if you're honest? Who knows? For all I know, you could be lying still.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and it's funny that we got on expectations because I think people are just, to each his own. Everybody matures in their own way. Maybe at a different time in my life, I probably felt that way about expectations. But at least you should have some type of self worth, and self value of who you are, because at least expect something,
Well,
bring something to the
and
table.
the
Like,
right, but be quite honest, I've gone through different stages, right? So I've gone through stages where whether I expected something or not, I having your feelings hurt because you subconsciously wanted somebody to be a certain way and they weren't, or coming across or having them or having no expectations and then having somebody be absolutely amazing is a really really good feeling. And then you get hurt once or twice and then you go through this whole I don't expect nothing from nobody. Well, I'm here at this age in my life where I expect what I expect and I want what I want. I'm not writing nothing down. I'm not giving nobody no checklist to date me. Either you can make those things happen or you can't. And if something
yeah,
happens that I don't like, I'll tell you about it. And you're not going to get 30 chances to fix it.
you're gonna love this statement from YouTube. You're gonna love this one. This
I'm
right up your
sure.
this right up your alley. Look
We'll
on the
see.
look on the screen.
I don't have my glasses.
People expectations are so low. They are mad when others have expectation.
Absolutely. 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 I've had men and women tell me, basically, who do you think you are wanting somebody to do all of that? Like you want somebody to do all of that? You're gonna be by yourself forever. You can't curse me, bitch. I'm never gonna be by myself. You're gonna be by yourself because you have no expectations. And if you with somebody, he's gonna drag you all the way to hell, and you're gonna wallow in hell with this man or this woman because you have no expectations.
Julia says, Smokey Robinson said we gotta shop around.
We absolutely do. I've had a man say to me, I don't expect my wife to cook for me. I know how to cook for myself. My mother taught me how to cook. But in the same breath, right? He was telling me about how when he was married, his wife wouldn't cook. But that's what you get. You had no expectation. Like, how do you be in a relationship, marry somebody who won't even feed you? And you knew that was important to you because you worked really hard and you knew how a home cooked meal felt in your spirit, the way it lifted your spirits and made you feel good to have a woman fix you something to eat and cook for you. But you so busy trying to be a pick me joker that you were
Damn,
saying that to me. Mom, don't
he
even
could
say that to me. I cook. I cook for my
he
entire
could
family.
he
I'm a
couldn't even get a
cooker.
plate.
I'm a cooker. I cook 2 to 3 times a day when my house is full. So
He couldn't
there's
even.
no way that I would have a husband and I would not fix him something hot to eat every single time he asked. And in the times when he didn't ask, that my house, and if I had a husband, I ain't talking about no boyfriend, I'm talking about husband. Every single day he would have something hot to eat. Every single day. Only because I know I like to cook and I know what he would eat it and it wouldn't go to waste. So please don't be trying to date me with them low expectations talking about something. I don't need no woman to cook for me because my mother
So
taught me how to cook
so
and I can cook for
Shakita,
myself.
let me ask you, because this is your show, and a lot of times people will think, well, she just a certain way, and they don't know. So you expect the guy you're dealing with to have high expectations as well.
A- Absolutely. There was
And I know that me and Shakita laughing. It's just that sometimes when you know something about somebody, you guys don't know a lot about her, and I'm asking her questions that I kind of know already. But you
absolutely. I want
Shakita,
you to
so
be high maintenance and bougie too.
okay,
You
dress
got.
up,
I want you to be
dress up every
smart as
night.
hell. You got to be smart as a whip. And that's the one thing that really attracts me to somebody is that they're smart and they're progressive. I don't want to be bothered with nobody who's just stuck in their ways and don't learn and don't care about being educated. But that's extremely important. I don't know how anybody want to be with somebody who isn't who don't have any expectations because what I don't know, man. And I know it happens because I see people and I hate this. I don't hope this don't sound mean, but I can't fix it. I can't say it no better way. But I be looking at people that be married, and I be like, that's why I'm not married because I can't imagine dealing with that. And and what I want and what I need. And I'm not saying this person is going to be perfect, and I'm not saying that the person that's around is perfect. So if this person is listening or whatever, mind your business and just let me be transparent and talk. I'm not saying that anybody has to be perfect, but when people who say nobody's perfect and they don't strive for perfection, it makes me uncomfortable. Like like you don't want to be you don't even want to try to be the best that you can be all the time. And we're not talking about having a mental health issue. We're not talking about not feeling well. We're not talking about being in a slump. We're talking about your regular self. Like you're never at your best. I want to be the best person that I can be all the time and at least try.
Stephanie said, especially smell good too.
Yes, definitely. No, that's important. That is so important. Oh my God. I remember I used to date this guy and he never smelled like nothing. Like he didn't smell like anything. Like he would just smell like whatever he showered in. And that was an issue for me. And I said something multiple times. Like, how do you want us to like I'm not turned on by that. I want you that turns me on. I want you to
Well,
smell like something.
F
I
F
even bought him cologne.
FYI for those in the chat, why don't y'all name some of the stuff that y'all like to smell? Gucci Guilty, Superior.
Wow.
I know a couple
All
of
of the
them.
colognes. I even bought you know what's so funny? Because smelling good is such a big deal to me, I just expect you to smell good all the time. So because that is a big deal to me, I feel like I've bought almost every man that I've ever dated seriously cologne. I bought them all real, and I mean, I know, good cologne. I think that a man should have a nice watch. I probably bought them all watches. I mean, I'm sorry if y'all all listening. I'm sorry. Yeah, I bought y'all all the same shit. Different colognes, different watches. But it's important to me. That's what I want you to look a certain way. I want you to smell a certain way. Like that's a big deal to me. And the fact that I can say it, stand in it, and provide it, I want you to do this. If you want me to be, if you there's something that you want me to have, if you want my hair and nails done all the time, cough up that coin. That's all. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not gonna do it because I get my nails and hair and stuff done. But if you want my hair a certain way, perfect example. This guy was like, "I love when your hair is braided." My hair braided costs $300. I'm not getting it braided all the time because I can't afford $300 hair braids all the time. But
Julia said
still,
Prada over cocoa butter.
ooh, show off. Who said that?
Julia said Prada over cocoa
Ooh,
butter.
that cocoa butter does the thing.
Pay
This
attention in
man
the
didn't even
chat.
smell like cocoa butter. This man didn't smell like cocoa butter. This man ain't. He didn't even smell like that. I could. I mean, and I liked him, and I thought he was nice, and he was extremely handsome, very, very handsome. But we're talking about getting down and getting romantic. Spray something on you. Shit, come on. I've asked you 100 times.
Yeah, maybe with that expectation, like we discussed in the beginning, like he wanted her to
Dress up.
dress up.
Yes.
You'll get that if you get that. Okay,
Yes.
Stephanie said Dior, Savage,
Yes.
Tom
That's
Ford,
Savage.
F Fabulous.
Yes.
Steph got Stephanie cussing on the chat.
That's Tom Ford. It smells so good. Oh my God, that smells so good. But I
Yeah,
mean, look.
so the thing is that a lot of times when a person is very, I'm not gonna say you're opinionated or that, it's just that you're very, for those that don't know you, even in social media, sometimes you'll post something, but sometimes you're very transparent. And somebody that always speaks about their standards, you expect someone to have them expectations and standards as well. And
Absolutely.
this is the thing that a lot of times that don't happen is that a person won't have, if they do got standards, they won't say it.
Hmm.
Or like we discussed, a lot of times people would just be wanting the cookie or whatever, and it's like you
Yeah, they
want me
don't
to
even
give
care.
myself
They
to
be
you,
like,
or
uh-huh. You need that? You like that? Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, I'll do it. Because all they want to do is have sex with you. And like I said, I don't when you if if you are, I
somebody
don't.
said somebody said, sis, I'm gonna have to reserve my comment. The reason why she's reserving her comment because that's my cousin, so she
uh
probably she probably feel uncomfortable saying saying it, and I'm saying it.
But it's the truth though. Like, but that's another reason why I don't, let loose with all my expectations and standards sometimes either, because they will just do exactly what you say. They'll take notes, write it all down, and then just copy it and do it just to appear and behave as if they are the perfect mate.
They'll give you that 10:45 phone call to about what you doing. I'm about to slide through.
Yeah, and they'll just pretend to be the perfect mate. You'll be in a full on relationship with them, because a lot of people don't know how to break up with folks. I do. I'll break up with you, and now you in a relationship, and now you stuck and you can't get out, and you be just toying, and they do something that you don't like. There's something that is, that is breaking one of your rules, like, being considerate of your time and standing you up for dates and not apologizing and doing things. But this is your boyfriend or this is your girlfriend. You keep telling her that you're stickler for time, and every time you go and pick her up, she's an hour late. You were late to your Christmas party. You were late to your boss's house for dinner. You just
Man,
keep being late, and she just doesn't give a shit.
hey yo, I was in a situation like that, and that thing used to drive me crazy because I'm a stickler for time,
Mm-hmm.
and
I'm sorry.
I'll come early before late to any event. Like I'll leave.
Mm-hmm.
I still do it. And I was in a situation where the person I was dealing with was not a stickler for time, and whoo, I mean, you gotta get those things out because certain little stuff like that, man, that can lead to like major arguments in a
Yeah, you be
relationship
ready to
because
beat somebody the hell up.
you got people that love to make grand entrances, love to be late, and you be like, man, I don't do the late thing. Like so one of the things that I know that you wanted to really address is like with the even the topic of the show expectations is that we discuss behind the scenes is having that communication. And how important. And I, like I said, I noticed it when I seen the second part, with the other part. Their communication, I kind of was envious of it because they were having, for a couple. I mean, I'm quite sure they were doing their podcast, but they were having a real deep conversation. And when you could kind of like see people visually outside of a podcast, when he said certain things and her body language was not apprehensive to what he was saying, you could
Hmm.
see that they were very, very close and very real with each other about how they felt. And, I really appreciated watching the rest of the video.
Right. And that's just like this guy I was seeing, and he was saying how he would get around his friends and their wives and everybody would get together, and they would try to have those types of discussions with each other. And then it would be like, say there's three couples, two of the couples go home and fight. And then one couple don't speak to each other for days because you said something there and it hurt my feelings, or you told them my business and now I feel like this. And the same guy, I would, be having conversations out loud, or I would come onto the show and say something, and he would feel like I was talking about him all of the time. And I would be like, and then he would feel like, oh, you telling our business. And I was just like, you have to understand, it's not about telling your business or anything of that nature. As envious as you might have felt when you watched them talk and converse with one another, I've never been in a relationship, and I mean talk, and I mean a real one, with a man that we got along. I've always been able to be transparent and talk to any man that I've ever been in a relationship with, no matter what we discussed. I've had relationships with men that we have been together for years, and we never had a argument
Yeah, and I
ever,
know, and I know, like
because we were able to communicate with each other and just talk, and it was nothing to be offended about. Why? because you know I care about you. You know I love you. So why, if I'm talking to you about something, why would you be offended? And if we're talking amongst our friends and I'm being transparent, why does everything have to be about us? What if I'm just talking about situations and relationships and things that I've heard and things that I've gone through in my past? Like, why does everything have to revolve around you and be so negative? And I think that comes when you are dealing with somebody who's insecure, and you're dealing with somebody who isn't secure in the relationship, and they have their own personal issues, and then they put it on you, and then they tell you, well, you shouldn't say that when we're around people, or you shouldn't say that when you're on that platform because, you were talking about me, but who would even know? Who would even know? Right? Like right now, if randomly every guy that I've ever dated listened to this show tonight, I'm sure they could probably be like, "Oh, she's talking about me." I bet they all could say she's talking about me. I bet they all could. But you don't know if I am. Why can't you should be able to allow a person, your spouse, your significant other, to always be free to express themselves no matter how they're expressing themselves. Because now that you're in an environment where people are listening and have expectations of you, you should be able to converse with them in a healthy, positive way instead of reacting in a negative way. Because here you have a platform to be able to express yourself. That's the perfect time.
Yeah, it's called the fixed managing control theory. My cousin said, I tell people I love that I am not afraid to be hurt their feelings because I care.
Hmm.
And trust has to be established, Julia, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've had men say to me, what do you want in a relationship? And I would say, I just want to be myself. And they be
One
like,
of
what do you mean? I want to be myself. And they don't understand that until I go to say something to them and their feelings are hurt. And I be thinking to myself, how are your feelings hurt? What are you talking about? Like
one
some
of
people don't know how to allow another person to be themselves because it makes them uncomfortable. Those people I don't date. That's why I'm particular. That's why, no matter if I'm expressing my standards to, in the forum or when I'm talking to my friends, that's between me and my friends. I'm not having these conversations with men. The minute you put me in a situation where I'm uncomfortable and I feel like I can't express myself, I'm going to address it. And I'm going to see, and I'm going to ask you questions and we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to see if it's just at one time or if you're like this with everybody. Because if you're
is
like
that
this with everybody, you got to go.
is that when you start cussing?
That's when I be like, this isn't gonna work for me. And I and I will say to them, this relationship does not work for me. You don't like me like that. And they be like, what do you mean? You don't like me enough to allow me to be myself. And it's no hard feelings. I don't want to be confined, or I don't want to be put in a box and feel like I'm forced to be with you. I'd rather be free so I can find somebody that appreciates me for who I am. That's all.
So with that, you guys in the chat, Shakita is coming up on her 28th birthday in 3 days. She'll be 28 years young. But anyway, do you have anything to add, Shakita? I know that you don't like to talk about politics. The next time you do a show, we may have a new president.
You don't know how bad I wish me and you and Keisha was able to talk about Ice Cube. I wanted to talk about Ice Cube so bad. But what I will say is this, because this was on my mind the other day. So I did my mail-in ballot, and I don't know if anybody else had to mail in their ballot. I had to drop it off at the little drop box. Just be very mindful of how you fill out the ballot form. You need to, use a black pen, fill in the circles. You need to, there's like two envelopes. Like it's one thing you got to fill you make sure that you know what you're doing when you fill up that envelope. You're not going to have any other chances. Just be very mindful and read the directions. I will say that. My son helped me because he had did his first. Then he showed me how to do it, and we dropped ours off. So just be very mindful when you open up your mail-in ballot, because it's a little packet and it will give you all the instructions and tells you how to fill it out. Just be very mindful of that.
I think me, you, and Keisha still do the show before the election. I just
I
gotta
think so
see
too. Because
exactly
I have
what
some
they.
things that I really want to say.
Yeah, and I think that most people they try to. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that today in the show. We'll
Yeah, I
discuss
think we
that.
need to talk about that. I want to talk about how, I've been seeing a lot of people saying how black men are voting for Trump. I want to have a discussion around that because I don't think that they are. I don't think it's a lot. I'm just and if I don't know what's gonna happen or who's gonna win, but I'm not gonna have them being blamed for Trump being president,
I know
Mr.
one thing
President.
about the election that's interesting is why we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it
Yeah,
because I
I'm
think
not
it's a
gonna
very
I'm
be a
not gonna
very
allow
interesting
that.
show.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
gonna allow that to happen. So definitely wanted to. We have to figure that out. Maybe we'll do that next week. We should do that
next
next week.
we could do it next Monday.
Okay.
Next Monday. But listen, you guys in the chat, Shakita is here with us every other week with Shaketa Speaks. Um, if you guys have any topics that you'd like to talk with Shakita, she's more
That
than
would be
welcome
fun.
to invite people to her show because
Yeah.
she, like I said, she's very opinionated, and most people will think that it's in a negative way. But I just think that she wears her opinions on her sleeve, and she's not going to be a robot. Just put that way.
Yeah,
She's
and I
going to
don't
tell
care.
you how she
And to be
feels.
honest, I don't care what people have negative to say.
In
But
the in
everybody gets a
the
chance. Everybody gets one chance to say something negative.
in
You
the
get one
coming
chance to
future,
say something to be negative, and I don't mean like disagree. I mean like call me names, be rude, be nasty to me. Everybody gets one chance because I don't fall for it at first. I try to stick to because if what I'm saying won't land if I stoop to your level, but everybody gets one chance. After that, I'm coming for your mama, you, and your cousin too.
and I'm going to let you guys know in the future. I'm going to ask Shakita to explain her go to hell statement.
Mm.
So just be prepared. With that, everybody in the chat, stay safe and have a blessed night.
Good night, everybody.